Good evening, everyone. This is the August 20th Town of Monroe Planning Board regular meeting. Noreen, if you would do roll call for attendance.
Yes. Maybe not, it's not working. Anthony Vaccaro.
Here.
Lisa McQuaid.
Here.
Bonnie Franson.
Here.
James McKnight.
Here.
Jason Sorinsky.
Here.
Jeff Manson.
Here.
And John Allegro is absent. We have a quorum.
All right, so we can conduct business. I'd like to point out the fire exits. There are two to the front of me, one on the left, which is the main entrance, another over by the kitchen, and then there's another behind me to my left. And with that, let's all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing for Foreign Objects Beer Company. If the applicant would come up. And if there are any persons in the audience who would like to speak with regard to this particular application, please sign in here so we can call your name. If you haven't, come on up. But we'll be calling first from this list. So I think what we'll do first is, David, if you could provide an overview for the benefit of the public who's here with regard to what's being proposed.
Sure. What's being proposed is a continuance of an existing use of a building. The building that exists right now was...
Could you use the microphone, please? We can't hear you back here.
This project is proposing a renovation to an existing building. That existing building had a use per the zoning code of a restaurant tavern. We're continuing that use with this project. The project is will be operated by Foreign Objects Beer Company. We're proposing a beer tasting place. So there will be no food preparation, no beer manufacturing, yet there will be beer stored there, and the intent of the owner is to allow people to come in, taste different beers that they would like, and there'll be a sitting area to do so, and then purchase that beer and take it home to be enjoyed. Not proposing any change to the footprint of the building, except for a privacy screen, which is allowed per the building department, and the owner is upgrading the exterior to make it appear better than it was, and including the parking area, and to upgrade that to improve the area.
Okay. With that, I will open the public hearing. Do I have to take a motion to open it? I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for Foreign Objects Beer Company. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? With that, the public hearing is opened. The first name on the list is Andy Dunn. If you would come up and speak into the microphone. I have your name. Just provide your address so we know where you are.
3 Candle Road?
Okay.
Mr. Dunn, just pull that mic. Yeah, I will. Thank you. My first question is, what do you propose to expand the parking lot and how?
Yeah, actually we're not. We're using what's there right now and restriping it to create the parking spaces. And then along the north side, we're going to add 3 more spaces to accommodate the zoning code.
That's a right of way for the road, for Lake Road, for Lakeside Road?
It's not in the right of way.
You can see that there is an image of the proposal
Yeah.
at this time. That line that has the 2 dashes, I believe would be is that the right of way there,
Property
David?
line.
Yeah, so they're not proposing any within the right of way.
Originally, there were 11 parking spaces. You're
Okay.
going to increase it to 12 or 13? or 14? How many parking spaces are you proposing?
12.
12, okay. Second, are you going to serve food?
No, not at this time.
I thought in New York, if you're serving liquor or beer, you have to also provide food.
I'm not aware of that kind of law.
Does anybody in the board know that that is a New York State law? That if you're providing alcohol, you also have to provide food? So people don't get drunk on the alcohol.
Okay.
That lowers their consumption. I wish you would check it out, make sure.
We will look into that. Is
Okay.
there a concern with the provision of food then?
Yeah, I'm also concerned, you just imagine this to be their come in. Usually these tasting things are like 6 beers, 7 beers, 8 beers, 4-ounce glasses.
It's a question?
Yeah, that's a question.
I do not know the answer of that, but the intent is not for people to be there to drink the beer. It's there, on a continuous basis. They're there to taste the beer, select what they want, buy it in quantity, and take it home.
So you're saying it's a carry-out,
I'm
like,
saying it's a beer tasting place. We're not proposing a bar, we're not proposing a tavern, in the traditional sense of the word.
you're going to have tables
Yes,
and chairs. So
Yeah.
people are going to come in and get a rack of beer, different beers. They're going to sit down, they're going to taste the rack, and then they're going to select their beers and leave. Suppose they want another rack of beer. Can they get it? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what this place is. Is it a bar? It's not a restaurant, it's not a bar. It's not your convenience store where you're getting a six-pack and leaving. You're drinking at the place.
yes, you're tasting the beer, absolutely.
Well, I don't know what it's going to be, and that's what we're all here to, trying to find out what it is, and we don't seem to know. But I do think you have to serve food when you serve alcohol.
Okay.
Bonnie,
Okay.
Yes.
just one clarification.
Sure.
The application classification of the use does include restaurant and tavern. So how they operate it is obviously the proprietor's decision. If their liquor license requires that they have food, it is covered by the use group that they have made application for it.
Well, he says they're not going to have food.
Yeah, I think what our town engineer is saying is that if you look at our zoning law and the determination made by the building inspector, tavern, restaurant, what they're proposing falls within that use category, so that if they wanted to have food there, they could. If they wanted to have some kind of bar aspect to it, they could, because it's allowed. We're just trying, again, to get a sense of what the community's concerns are, so that we can address them.
Well, one of my concerns is you're serving alcohol without food,
Okay,
which tends to make people more drunk.
okay.
You are in a residential neighborhood. I don't know if everybody
Yes.
knows exactly where this is.
We do,
There are houses within 100 feet of this establishment.
yes.
We're worried about the traffic, we're worried about the noise, we're worried about what it's going to do to our property values around it.
Right,
We're worrying about what kind of clientele is going to be using it,
right,
you know, whether we're going to get bikers, whether we're going to get, who we're going to get.
okay.
I imagine this is more for millennials, you know, who tend to like this, and it's a new thing. But I don't know what their demographic is, who they're trying to get in the place, and what they're trying, and what they ultimately want to become.
Okay,
You know, I could envision them later coming back to you and wanting to open up the backyard and doing something else. And that's what we're sort
Right.
of afraid of, what this going to morph into.
they're only allowed what they're showing on the site plan, so if they were to propose anything that
At
would
this hearing,
expand.
yeah, they'd
at-
have to come back.
Right, they
I
would have to come back, and in fact, I believe this is a permitted use,
Yes.
so,
It's a permitted use under the code, and it's actually a continuation of the current use of the building. So this was already a restaurant tavern use. And again, as the engineer Mark had pointed out, they will require a liquor license from the state liquor authority. So any regulations as far as serving food that's required, they're going to have to abide by that. That's
Right.
not within this board's purview, but the restaurant tavern use is what this board is going to be approving.
Okay.
And we appreciate you coming out because we specifically, even though a public hearing wasn't required, the board decided to hold one so we'd have the opportunity to hear what your and the neighbors' concerns are.
Okay.
Thank you. The next name on the list is James Schmidt. And again, if you would just indicate where you reside.
Next door,
Okay,
number 142,
142 Lakeview?
West Monbassia Road.
West Monbassia, okay.
Yeah. I want to know what the hours of this establishment are going to be, and who's going to regulate the hours?
We're asking for hours of operation Monday through Saturday from 12 to 9 and Sunday 12 to 7.
Is this going to become a sports bar?
What the owner's telling me right now is that this is a beer tasting place. I have
Okay.
no idea what it will become.
I don't know what your capacity is here, so.
Oh, I'm the architect.
Okay. My experience with this building, I've been here for 34 years. When they first opened it up as a deli, we made a phone call to the state police because there were two guys out front. They were drunk and they were firing off 9mm weapons. Okay?
Talking to the mic, sir, please.
My first experience with this commercial establishment was people firing weapons in a drunken state in front of the building on a Sunday afternoon. The state police were called, they did respond. We will not tolerate any such behavior. But the owners know that right now.
How long ago was that?
I would agree. I'd hope so.
That was
I'd
when
hope-
they opened the deli.
Like, do you know about how many years
I
ago?
don't know, 25 years ago? Probably 25 years ago.
Okay.
Then it was a restaurant, and it was very successfully run. It was very well kept. They kept the outside nice and clean. Then suddenly it became it had no liquor license, the restaurant. It was bring your own. Then all of a sudden, no hearings, no applications. It's a Mexican restaurant with a whiskey bar. The people weren't consulted about that. Fortunately, the guy didn't have a good business plan, and it didn't last very long. Food was pretty good, but he didn't have a good business plan. This business plan here sounds very shaky to me. It's not, I'm not against it being there. As such, if it's a pub, and there's a restriction on the hours, I don't know about this opening up out in the backyard. I don't want to hear that. That's going to be coming right up into our bedroom. And several of these other people that are here. It's going to be coming, that noise will be coming right up into the bedroom.
Well, keep that in mind as we consider the approval for this, conditions that would address some of these concerns. So we'll go through
I'm
those.
aware of the state liquor authority restrictions and their responsibilities, and you can be sure that if there's any incidents, they will be hearing from me in a prompt and efficient manner. I will go into the bar and taste the beer. I'm not against that.
Okay.
But I just don't want a haphazard fly-by-night operation. And, you know, with all due respect to these people, this business plan seems to be by the seat of the pants. And I'm not interested in having that. I'm against it. I don't want that in my neighborhood. If you're going to have a restaurant there, fine, have a restaurant. But have an established restaurant. Not something, if you don't have the capital to open up a restaurant, then wait. Get your capital together and open up a proper restaurant. I don't want a fly-by-night place. Some guy's going to come in and have 4 glasses of 8% beer. And then he's going to get in his car and drive down the road. Thankfully, my kids are grown and gone. But there's kids in that neighborhood. And grandkids and great-grandkids. And there's old people like me. And dogs and cats. You know, it's a residential neighborhood is my point,
Right.
okay? A fly-by-night, seat-of-the-pants operation bar, beer tasting place, whatever you want to call it, doesn't belong there. It's also, I might add, a school bus stop on that corner.
Thank you for your comments. The next person on the list is Jack Daly.
Hello, folks. I'm Jack Daly from 42 Lakeview Drive. I agree with everything that Jim just said. My biggest concern, or one of the biggest concerns along with his thoughts, are when that became a restaurant. I live on the north side of Lakeview Drive, across from it. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it became a parking lot, a free-for-all park, anywhere you want to spot. The south side, which is their side of the street, is no sidewalk, of course. It's half grass, it's just the road. They were in the road, they were on the grass, they were blocking people's driveways. It was chaos. And that's not fair to us. If it's going to occur, what can we do to keep Lakeview Drive out of the parking equation? That's my concern. Thanks.
Thank you. Ashley, would it be appropriate with those comments to close the public hearing, or should we leave it open at this point?
I would first ask if there's anyone else that maybe didn't sign up that wishes to speak.
Okay. Please come up and then state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Barbara Mullets Patterson. This, on 148 West Monbassia Road. This property is right in front of my property. Their fence is bordering on my property line. And my biggest concern is the possible outdoor space.
Okay.
I mean, I do think the building is nicer being something nice in it than it being sitting empty all this time. But again, my concern was the backyard, and the hours seem to have changed from when I spoke to somebody. The hours were originally, it was Friday through Sunday, not Monday through Sunday. So that's a concern of mine now too.
Okay.
So.
So the hours of operation.
Because my daughter's on that bus stop, and she'd be getting off the bus if she comes home late, and this bar is going to be open. There's going to be people there, drinking.
What time does a school bus get there generally?
Well, the regular high school bus gets there about 2:33, but if they go stay after school, it gets there at 5.
Okay.
Between 4 and 5 o'clock.
I'm sorry, Barbara, I didn't get your last name.
It's Mullets-Patterson.
Can you spell that?
Which one?
Mullets
Maletz.
Patterson. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Anyone else like to come up? Any additional comments? No? So with that,
It would be appropriate to close the hearing.
okay. So I will make a motion to close the public hearing. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So the public hearing is closed. So with that, Mark, I believe you have did you have some comments?
Yes. The first and second comments are really just confirming the use classification. The fact it is a continuation of a previous approved use by right. Comment 2 is just noting the changes proposed, which is the parking layout modification, updating the handicap parking delineation. As Dave indicated, the fence screening with a new sign and lighting, and the walk-in cooler. Comment 3 is just indicating that we should confirm for the record the status of the GML referrals to both the Orange County Department of Planning and the Orange County Department of Public Works. 4 are some corrections to the final plan that I'm suggesting. 1, just a note relative to the information on the site plan that is really not part of the site plan approval process, but part of information provided for informational purposes, but which would be further reviewed by the building inspector. That's the first bullet under 4. We had wanted a clarification, Dave could just make it for the record, that there has been a verification in the field of the site conditions since the reference survey is quite a number of years ago. So that we could just hear, I think for the record, if it's acceptable to the board. The 3 additional spaces that are being striped on the existing area up on the north side, just so the board's aware, there had been discussions about a barrier of some sort. That's really just striped at this point, so if there's any concern, you may want to further discuss it. If not, the striping is shown on the plan. There's a conflict on the plan as to whether or not the lighting is LED or incandescent. So that needs to be resolved, and we should have, I believe, Dave, you added the standard lighting note on that we provided to you.
On
So that
A1.
gives the building department some enforcement abilities if there is a problem caused by the lighting. The handicap detail needs some corrections based on the current code requirements. And last but not least, on corrections, we're just asking that the normal approval box with the tracking number be added to the right-hand fold of the plan so that it can be easily identified. Some items from the planning board meeting in July, 2 items the board asked for, I just wanted to note for your further discussion. There was a note requested relative to the road area. I don't know if that's been resolved. And you also had asked for some information on the finishes of the building, and I don't know if that's been further discussed.
So the road note was the note that because the property line extends into the county road, that there would just be a note that says a particular area is set aside for highway purposes. That portion that's within the actual road pavement.
We're waiting for them, that note from you.
Okay. So you need a template for it?
Yes, it
Okay.
was discussed at the last
Okay.
planning board meeting. An email went around
Okay.
2 weeks ago, again requesting that note.
So we'll just add that to any conditions,
Yes, I did have a condition for adding that note before
Okay.
signing the plan.
and then we'll get that to
Okay.
you.
When could we expect that?
I am on vacation the next 3 days,
Okay.
which gives me actually some time to do other things, so I'll try and get it tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay.
The next item, the samples.
Yes. Here are the samples. You want me to bring it up or show it? Well, this is going to be the it's going to be a metal roof over the awnings at each window.
Okay.
This is the color that's being proposed. This is the existing stucco that's there. This is the color that we're proposing to paint it. This is the color we're proposing to paint the stone around the door. And this is the color that we're proposing to paint the stone around the windows. And then this is a sample of the cedar and the finish that we want to use.
Would have sort of that industrial look.
Yes,
Okay. And that look, I saw the light fixture has kind of that.
it does. We kind of continued with that theme, even though it
Okay.
has an upper canopy to allow the light to shine straight down or within a relatively small photometric, but it still has that industrial feel to it.
Okay.
And it will be LED, the A19 bulb. And I agree with Mark, in the specs that we drew down from the lighting manufacturer, it says incandescent, but it's an LED bulb, so.
The LED, the K values, we try and keep them so that they're not,
3,000.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're not the stark color.
Yeah, we made a note, it will not exceed 3,000.
Okay. Any other comments, Mark?
No, I think 2,500 or 3,000 K is probably
It's warm.
appropriate
Okay.
for a residential neighborhood. If you go much above that, it's a nuisance.
Right. Are the lights on timers? Can they be put on timers, or they'll be just turning them off as they leave? Or what's, just so we know for the neighborhood to have them turn off at a particular time?
You know, I had not discussed that with the owner, but I'm sure they would agree to a timer, as opposed to a dusk to dawn instead of leaving it
Yeah,
up to chance, but his son, or lack of son, why don't we just put it on a timer?
okay. That'd be great. Board members, do you have questions?
I do. As far as citizens coming in to speak with us, I think maybe we should discuss their concerns as far as the bus stop, the hours of operation, the days of the week. I don't know if there's anything that the owner of the business would do if people are not parking in the designated parking spots. But that would be, to me, an issue as well. I mean, you don't want people parking on your lawn or blocking the street. I mean, that can cause a situation for an accident. We certainly don't need kids getting off the bus at 5 o'clock at night. It gets dark if it's November and December. So, I mean, I don't know if we should discuss some of the issues that the public brought up.
Yes, we should, certainly. Any thoughts, board members?
Well, like I said, I don't know what the owner of the establishment would do if people are not parking in the right spot. I mean, to me, that would be a big issue. Is not, you don't want cars on people's lawns or in the street, and that's a concern for the bus as well. And then you're gonna have kids at different times too. I didn't pick up on the days and the hours of operation, so I wasn't sure if it conflicted with the bus schedules. I just kind of thought it was more Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but, so I don't know what the owner, I mean, I'm not even saying it would be the owner's responsibility, but what do you do with, you know, the
Right.
overflow of parking if there's that many people there?
The, I believe, David, you indicated Monday through Saturday, 12 to 9,
Yeah, on SP1, yes.
and then on Sunday it'd be 12 to 7,
Yes.
and that's on the site plan. So generally, I mean, they anticipate at noon time they would get,
No, but if they have to go there to prepare, I just want everything before the board. So if there are...
so they may be there actually brewing. That doesn't necessarily mean
They're
that,
not going to be brewing. The brewing is off-site. They'll be bringing it in.
okay.
But whatever preparation needs to be done, whatever cleanup,
That would start at 12, but when do doors open actually? Do they have a sense
I'm not sure.
to the public?
I'm not sure.
Can we impose some sort of no parking where the bus stops in front of this?
That's a good idea.
That to me seems like, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone's concerns are valid and well taken, but I think the health and safety, predominantly of our children, is the most important one.
Well, I think the first question is, where is the bus stop? I don't think we're certain where it is.
May I?
Yes, sir.
The bus pulls right into the front, the
I have an
southwest corner.
I have an image here if you can help us.
It pulls into the southwest corner in front.
Why don't you come around here so we could see? Sorry. Yeah, they're the same.
Careful of the wire, please.
This is the building here,
Yes.
comes right up here, pulls up here, the kids stand here, and they pull in here.
That's
So they're
north.
standing in, like on the corner there?
So that's the south side of
That's
Lakeview
All the-
Drive?
All the prior owners tolerated it.
The kids are standing in the property parking lot when the bus pulls in.
Yeah, but that might be the safest area because they get to pull off the road.
It is the safest area because no matter how hard the state police try, that's a commuter road.
Right.
And people go flying through there. The trooper might chase a guy down the street and be giving him a ticket. While he's doing that, 6 or 10 guys will be coming by doing 60 miles an hour. If I can get one quick question in.
Go up to the microphone.
Yeah.
So that's
Well-
actually the northwest corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
All right, yeah, northwest.
North.
Northwest corner of the property.
I have one additional question. Who's going to respond to an alarm at 1 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the morning, or 4 o'clock in the morning, when the refrigeration fails, or there's a power failure, et cetera, et cetera? Are you going to have somebody local who can come and turn the dawn thing off? So everybody who has to get up and go to work in the morning to make money to spend buying beer
I
can get some decent sleep.
Right.
oh,
We're
is
actually-
there an alarm that goes off?
I think the owners would want to do that to make sure everybody's happy.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Is
Absolutely.
is
Yeah,
there
It's not been my experience.
we
I I'm sorry, just in general for the public, I'm sorry to hear about all the bad experiences that have occurred there, but, and of course, we don't want to repeat that in the future, but to assign this project all of those already burdens that they are not intending to do would be a little bit unfair also. They're not intending to park all over the lawn. They're not, in fact, we're striping, the existing parking lot is in poor condition. We're restriping it, or they're restriping it so that the cars can park aligned. I pushed the parking away from the building. The planning board wanted it closer to the building, so we're taking it further away from the road. Everything is being done to make this an organized site. It would behoove them, the owner, to continue with it because that's a good business operation. It is not a fly-by-night operation. They have other facilities throughout the country.
I'm sure they do.
How
many of them-
Uh,
My question to them would be, how many are in a residential area?
Well,
Everybody here can verify that an alarm has gone off in that building at weird hours of the night, or maybe on a Sunday afternoon. You're sitting there waiting and waiting and
Do you see the
waiting.
extent of the renovations? I mean, if those alarms were in poor condition, this client is renovating the entire inside. So, and I can know as the architect, the
Each-
electrical and the alarm systems are being upgraded.
Just for the record,
So-
each tenant that's been in there has renovated the inside.
Well,
That's been our experience, and we want to avoid that.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a backup generator? Is there?
No.
So what happens if power's off? Is there bells, alarms? What's the system?
well, there's going to be a fire alarm system.
If there's a
within the-
fire.
You're right. But
But that would be just a normal,
a normal fire alarm. yeah.
Right.
If there was an internal alarm, could that be via the internet so that
You
it
know,
would be silent?
I'm sure, but at this present time, for this approval process, the facility's not being used to that extent. There aren't perishable, large amount or even medium amount of perishables that will be there. So, I think there's one outdoor cooler, there's an indoor refrigerator. There's not an extensive amount of appliances being proposed. At this moment, that's all they want to do. If business does well, and they want to evolve into something more, we'll be back here before the planning board for that approval. But right at this moment, it is not intended to be used as a restaurant or traditional tavern.
so as a condition, could we just establish that there shall be no audible alarms that are audible from the property line or something to that effect?
So your town code does have already a noise law,
Yeah.
and that's typically, I just pulled it up now, but that's fairly standard in the noise law, so that would really just be an enforcement issue as it would be with any audible noise that's heard beyond the property line. So it's already in the town code, it really wouldn't be a condition of this approval.
So if it was creating a nuisance, then it's something that's enforceable by the town. So if someone called and said, there's this audible alarm that's exceeding a certain decibels, then there's recourse for someone to come complain and
I'm sure there'll be issues.
for it to be enforced. But can you say that there will be no audible? I mean, is that fair to say that there wouldn't be an alarm? There's no system that would have an exterior alarm that we would hear, other than maybe, I don't even know if a fire would there be a fire alarm?
Oh, well, yeah, the strobes, the fire detection devices would
system.
alarm.
Okay.
Without question.
So other than that, are there any other systems?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Can we say that there won't at this point?
Well, I hesitate to say because what if they do need it for something? I mean, just as a typical home, in your boiler room, you have if your water is leaking, so many people have an alarm in their boiler rooms to detect water leakage, and that goes off.
Mine
So-
didn't recently.
And you know why? It happened to me several years ago, and that's why I put that water detection. So I think it's above and beyond the normal course of events to put such a constraint upon the project.
Well,
I mean, if the
I think the
alarm- if an alarm-
concern-
I mean, there's a fire.
The concern is only because it is otherwise surrounded.
The firehouse is right across the street.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
Well, it has been renovated too, you already.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the interior has been extensive, well, to a good extent gutted. The electrical has been upgraded, the fire alarm system has been upgraded. I cannot talk to the other renovations, was not a part of them, don't know about them. I can speak concerning this renovation, and it is meeting all the code requirements or exceeding them,
Okay.
and there hasn't been any issues with the building department.
Okay. We resolved sewer and water a while ago, Mark, is that true?
I don't think there's any change.
Okay.
Assumption, yeah.
Could we just go, and we'll go through the remaining questions that the public have, but I just want to go through the floor plan again. We have the proposed first floor plan, and can you talk about the activities within each of the spaces?
So A2 kind of depicts a proposed layout that,
Right.
for the space.
And maybe go from left to right.
As we're looking at the plan.
Mhm.
So on the left is a storage area with 2 fermenting tanks, a storage shelf, a basin sink, and a walk-in freezer to store things. The middle section to the right, as you walk in from the front door, at that long table, that's where you'll find me and Jeff tasting a beer there. And you go a little further, you might find Bonnie and Mark. But in that L-shaped configuration, it's just a counter, and they're intending people to stand there, point to one of the beer selections that would be on the wall behind it, and ask to taste it. In the room to the right of that, or the last section, you have 2 existing bathrooms that are being needed, and there's 2 counters that are being proposed. People want to stand around those counters. Actually, you know, I spoke prematurely. Person before asked if there was any seating. We're not showing any seating.
You would have seating associated with the counters, or no? Like high-top type counters?
Maybe, but for this use, we would need to show seating. Right now, we're not. So, you know, I'm going to go with this plan. They would stand there and have to look at it.
Do you need, I mean, seating, if it's a tavern or a restaurant, you would anticipate, you know, I guess some kind of seating.
It would be, without question, not fixed. It would be a movable seat.
Okay. What's the maximum occupancy then? Do we know that?
Per the code, or
Per parking versus per code?
well, the building, I mean, you know, here's where we get into that crossover between the codes, but the building code allows 30 occupants within the building.
Okay.
But that's the maximum, and that's what's allowed per the building code. The zoning code requires 12 parking spaces, and that's what we're providing per the code.
So again, getting back to the counter space, you said that they could grab from behind them if there's a particular beverage that they want to purchase?
Taste and then purchase.
And so is it going to be, because there's not much wall space behind the counter, is it going to be sort of where is the sales storage? Where's the stock being kept in these rooms?
Well, in the left room.
In the left room? Where the brew system and all that is?
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't pick a 6-pack off the counter, they go and get it and bring it out to you? From
To
the
take
left room?
home.
To take home.
Not to drink there. The displays would be along the wall behind that counter. So, I mean, a beer bottle is whatever dimension, 4 inches front to back or whatever. They would say, I mean, I'm going to imagine a scenario. You walk in, I like to taste that one, they give a glass.
And that they have right there is something to dispense the small
Correct.
portions. And then if you order the
Like a
six-pack,
wine
they go get
tasting.
it, or the
It-
bottle,
It's
or a
it's
jug.
exactly like a wine tasting.
Okay.
Okay. There's a question behind you, I guess.
We're really not in a public hearing because we closed the public
Well,
hearing, but I'm gonna,
Your committee just exposed us to the plans.
right, well, normally, excuse me.
We would like to know why there's a Bruce system.
I'm going to allow it only because we discovered that the plans weren't posted, so you haven't had an opportunity to look at this. So, go ahead.
We would like to know why there's a Bruce system
And a fermenting tank.
and fermenting tank on the premises if they're not going to be making any beer there.
Right.
Well,
It's unnecessary equipment.
well, it's not. It's my understanding that would be an incorrect assumption, because they need to bring stuff there that is made to continue the process and to
Sir, either you're making beer there or you are not.
You need to direct your comments to the board,
He's speaking to me.
so, and
Okay.
David just,
This gentleman needs to explain whether they are, in fact, going to be making beer in any stage, or are they not? The
Our
public has been led to believe that they are not going to be producing beer there.
Our understanding was that it was a finishing process, is that the case? So they're bringing in, how are they bringing it in?
I don't know.
Okay, but they're not actually going to start from the beginning with the process of,
Whatever.
okay.
Isn't there some kind of boiling process with coiled copper tubes and stuff in the early part, and then a long waiting part where it ferments in a big bottle? I wish my brother-in-law is an expert in this. I am not.
I believe so. I don't know the step-by-step process. I don't.
So this is definitely, it's not going to be a brewing establishment where they're from scratch making beer.
Correct. Actually, if you look at the fermenting tanks, they're 7 gallon. It's not a lot.
Okay.
I mean, not a lot to serve people. It's a small amount in comparison to what this facility can hold.
Okay.
So Bonnie, if I may, it
Yes.
goes back now to the use that's being requested and the use that the building inspector determined was applicable, and that's again the restaurant tavern use. So that's all that's before this board, so nothing, no brewery is being permitted. That won't be, notwithstanding whatever equipment shown there, that's
It's not going to
part
be
of the
allowed.
use.
Right, okay.
And Bonnie, part of the reason I asked for that note indicating that was additional information, but those were subject to the building inspector's review and approval. They may have given you floor layouts, room layouts, but whatever happens in that building has to be consistent with the approval granted by the board. So when these second and third drawings are submitted to Ben, he may very well strike that from the plan. I want to make it very clear that, and this is the problem in having interior layout plans part of your application. I don't want any quasi-approval granted for something that you're really not considering.
Right.
You're really considering the first plan only.
I am curious though, if you're finishing a fermenting process, does that fall into a tavern use? Is that like food preparation, or is that distillery and would require distilling licenses? Because I think that is a fine distinction.
Excuse me, looking at the layout, I have a question. How is the beer, if I purchase the beer, what is it? Is it bottled beer? Is it something you're pulling there and putting it into quarts or gallons? Or what is this? Is it cans? Or what is it? And second of all, from the layout, what's to prevent me after I've tasted it to decide that I want to drink the beer there? To order more, and then it's not a beer tasting, it's a bar.
Right, but the
And
use.
that's what it looks like.
Right,
from
but
their
the
plan.
use that was there and the use that is allowed there is a bar. So,
It was never a bar.
no, but the use that's allowed in the zoning district on that property, a tavern is
But
allowed.
we never discussed it. There was never a town board meeting on it.
Well, this is the purpose of this
Oh,
public
so
hearing.
you want to wharf it
So
from
that's
the
why we're-
delicatessen, which was a carry-out store and a restaurant, into a pub?
We're not morphing it, it's what the applicant is requesting, and we have
Oh,
to
well,
review
you
it
have to
against
decide if you're
the,
gonna
well,
let
against
him
what the
go
zoning,
forward.
what the zoning allows. What the
Huh?
zoning allows for that use and that
The
property.
zoning allows that.
Yes.
Yes, it's a restaurant or tavern use. That's the
In a
classification.
residential area.
Was never a hearing before.
That,
There's never a hearing
I
on
can't
that
speak to
before.
when that zone allowed that use, but it is in the zone.
What
I can't
zoning?
speak to when the zoning actually adopted that as a
None of these
permissible
people-
use.
It was
I'm only there
non-residential.
I'm only there 21
Yeah.
years, and all these people are there in their 30s and 40s years, and it's never been asked to be a tavern, or never was a tavern.
Well, they're saying it was, she's.
It's
Where-
one of the many uses
Was it
that's
grandfathered from something?
It's in the zoning code, so this is a separate district than the residential zoning district. This is in the, I believe it's the neighborhood business district. So in the neighborhood business zoning district, a restaurant and tavern use, that's permitted in that zone. So
And
at
it
some
has
point, the
been.
town board,
Huh?
And it has been.
So she's saying a restaurant and tavern use. They chose to make it a restaurant before, but they could have made it a tavern. It's the same category is what they had even. back
Right.
then.
yeah, that's permissible in the,
Tell
as
me.
one of the uses.
And they
I
can
think
do
there's a big difference
retail.
between a pub or a bar that's not serving food than a restaurant. You know?
I get that, but they're.
Again, this is-
Permissible use in the
Right.
zoning.
This is the business model they're proposing. I mean, they have a right to make application, and it has to fit within the zoning.
And this planning board is reviewing the site plan that's allowed within the zoning. We're not making a decision about zoning. The zoning is already in place, and it allows a tavern or a restaurant. So that's, to decide what's beyond that is beyond this planning board's purview, and I don't have any history or knowledge about when that was created. So we have to take that on its face value.
Getting back to, did we resolve the question of the bus? The buses do come in, they do, I'm sorry, the public hearing is closed. They do come in, I guess, onto the property, or at least within the right-of-way?
Well, the gentleman pointed to the northwest corner of the property. So I guess there's a bus stop there, and for how many years it's been there, and it's being used as a bus stop.
Anything that we should address or need to address, based on the fact that there may be a bus stop there? I mean, it's just a drop-off, no more than it is in front of a residence, or...
It's not clear if they're discharging the children to the West Monbassia County right-of-way, or if they're discharging them onto the private property parking lot. Either way, the bus stop locations are not set by the town, they're set by the school district. So if the school district determines that that is no longer an appropriate location, or there's a safer location to discharge the students, then that's a school district restriction. I don't know that we can control where the school bus stops. And as far as provisions, I don't know how you could provide any provisions in a existing parking lot.
Yeah, if anything, it looks like, again, the reality is their property line actually goes close to the center line of West Monbassia Road. So if the
The D
bus...
line, not
Yeah,
necessarily the taking line would be the
Right.
traveled way plus any drainage.
right,
Under
so,
the state highway law, but we don't know where that is.
right. Okay. Anthony, were you going to say something?
I was going to say two things. One, about the parking spot. You know, I think the reality is that it's very convenient because it's open space and it's off the road, and it's the safest thing for that bus to do. But if that bus was not able to pull into the parking lot, you know, they would have to do what they do on the other road. And I'm not speaking for the school bus company, but I'm just trying to make sense of, you know, what's going on out there. The other thing about the parking, because I definitely agree, it would be difficult for me if I were living in that area and there was overflow parking, people in front of my house, and I wouldn't like that either. And I think the difficulty is, even if the town were to put no parking signs on Lakeview Drive, I don't think there's an agency that could enforce no parking at that time. I don't think the state police would come out to do that. And so that's
Do we,
reality.
do we know what the restrictions are on that road? Do we know?
And 91 or West Monbassia, I believe, is a county road, so they would.
County.
Thank you.
Just a note on that, you had sent the plans to the county DPW. Was anything received
No, I haven't
back
heard
from them.
I have the planning.
David, are there, I don't know if you know, I know you're the architect and not the guy running the business, but are there peak times or hours? Because I don't think the parking would be an issue a great amount of the time. Like, you know, this place is awfully out of the way, but there may be peak times. I don't know if you...
I don't know.
I understand it. I'm saying well, it's to your point that it was in a residential district, because if this were downtown, I wouldn't be concerned about that parking at all. Then,
It's not in a residential district. It's next door to a residential district.
Board members, are there additional questions?
If we can go back to what the,
Pull that mic in close.
if we go back to what the citizens asked about as far as, do they have to serve food if there's a tasting? Like, and
that's-
if it's not gonna be prepared, is it something that, if it's not gonna be prepared on the premises, is it something that they could bring in, like either prepared snacks or pretzels and chips? I mean, I think we should look into whether or not, that is something that they have to do. I don't know what they do at wine tastings, whether they serve food or snacks.
So exactly, that does speak to the liquor authority and whatever the state liquor authority is going to require in order to have a certain type of liquor license, and then they will have to comply with whatever that is. I know at one point there was discussion about bringing in, having some snacks, things like that there as well, and again, it is the restaurant tavern use, so they certainly could have food there, but it would be appropriate to add a condition just to specifically say that they would have to obtain the necessary liquor permit or liquor license rather, and comply with all state liquor authority
Okay,
laws and regulations.
Which they're willing to do. It's not a problem.
thank you.
Any other comments?
Actually, I have a question. It was brought up to me in an outside conversation. One of the concerns that a member of the public had was, could this be the type of destination where it's become popular for people to tour from tasting center to tasting center? They go from winery to winery, or distillery to distillery, or brewery to brewery by bus. Is there any anticipation of soliciting that kind of business by the...
I couldn't, it's never come up in a conversation with the owner, you know, as we've designed the project. That type of operation has never come up.
I mean, I understand it's not really geared for bus parking.
No.
So, you know, that was my first thought, but I didn't know if you knew one way or the other.
Uh,
Just wanted to ask the question.
Never came up.
Okay.
Any other comments? No? So I believe, Ashley, you drafted a preliminary resolution, a draft resolution for us to consider for this action?
Yes, I did. I'm not sure whether, based on the discussions tonight and some other potential conditions that the board may want, if you are ready to talk about that now or would prefer to see a revised.
Well, I do, so just I want to mention, we did get the GML review, and that was local determination. The one item that we don't have that I'm questioning whether we need to follow up with them is the county response as part of because it is a county road, and it's under GML 239F.
Yes, but technically Orange County doesn't have an official map adopted, which that triggers the 239F
Okay.
review, but you did request comments from the county DPW and whether you want to follow up on that to see if they don't have any and that's why they haven't responded, or just because of its location on the county road, if you want to follow up and see if they have anything to say.
Is there any time restriction and that's not the same as a GML within 30 days, or is there a...
Because there's no, the referral's not required technically because there's no official map, so it's really, there's no restriction or anything like that. It's,
Okay.
You're seeking their input because it's on a county road.
Okay. Board, do you want to have the opportunity to look over the resolution and carry this over to the next meeting, or are you ready to take action and go through the resolution now? What's preferences?
I have a comment. I'm not sure where we are in the procedure because we closed the public hearing, then we opened it. I don't know if we officially opened it, but if we close it, perhaps we can close it, but allow for written comments before the next meeting if the public wants to make a written comment. And then I would like to hold off decision on this project until next meeting.
Are you,
I happen to agree with that. I would like to see, given the comments tonight, some more specific conditions. Primarily the hours of operation, as noted, I think was SP1.
okay?
And I had another note somewhere. Oh, compliance with the state liquor laws. I think just,
Follow up on that.
yeah. I'd
Okay.
like to see those specific conditions before we will vote on something.
Okay. Anybody else? What,
So were you planning on asking the county to review this?
we'll follow up with we received the planning department review. We haven't received any response from the county, DPW, for the county road, so we'll follow up with that.
Is DPW aware of the parking issues on 91 in that intersection with Lakeview?
Not necessarily unless they've been told or unless someone has called them.
Could we maybe add a note into our request for their to review?
I think we could just discuss, we'll, send them the plans and ask them.
They were sent the plans already, correct?
Yeah, I believe I did them, but I can't get into the emails with my new computer. They didn't tell me I had to leave it on. So I can't get into my emails, but I believe I did both of them the same day for this project. And I didn't realize I only got the one back. So I will call first thing in the morning.
Okay. Okay. We may have Noreen then, if we do get in touch with someone, perhaps we can get their email and then just
Okay. I'll
follow
ask
up
for an
with, notes as far as some of these comments and concerns. So hold off?
Yeah.
You agree? Yes? Okay. So we're just going to hold off to get a few more responses. Anything we need to address? I mean,
No, the comments we could address in a day. It's not an issue.
Okay.
So are we talking about the regularly scheduled meeting?
we normally would bring this over to the regularly scheduled meeting, correct?
I believe when it's an action item, is that how it
that's the-
typically?
Yes, yeah. We usually workshop, or we're not going to take action, so we would take action at the next meeting.
Which is next week, right?
September 17th.
So we need to make sure that the plans get up onto the
She'll
website.
be back on Monday.
So
and
just
I
a
will
note
get
on that,
them
you
out.
had closed the public hearing. Do you want to reopen it and then leave it open since there was this issue with the plans not being posted? Or?
Well, I think someone indicated, or the request was made maybe to allow people to submit in writing or email. I don't know that we need to open up the public hearing, but maybe allow for another 2 weeks for people to send in emails or submit written comments. Would that be reasonable? We didn't reopen the meeting, it was just
No, exactly.
people
That's what I was
were,
going to say. It's appropriate to reopen the meeting if you don't think you've heard from all the public that is interested and wants to speak on the application, but you could do that by the written comments as well, as long as that's clear.
board members, do you have a preference as far as reopening the public hearing or just allowing an additional time for written comments?
Written comments.
Written
Written?
comments.
Okay. So we will, shall we say, it's September 17th. We want to have enough time for you to be able to respond to them. So let's say 2 weeks. Is that okay?
Well, no, when's the submission date?
The submission date for the next meeting is next Thursday, the 29th at noon.
We would give you some leeway for that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay. Just because of reality, you may have to respond to some comments.
Right, 2 weeks from tonight is September 3rd.
September 3rd.
Tuesday,
September
3rd.
10? September 10 for a submission.
If it's September 10 and you're next on the agenda September 17th, that doesn't allow him a lot of time if he does have to make revisions. So I'm thinking maybe we'll leave it at exactly the 2 weeks,
Okay.
just to give him a little more time. So that would be September,
So
again,
September 3rd is for written comment,
yes.
and then what date? The meeting is September 17th, so that's 2 weeks before the meeting. If Dave is submitting, I need to be able to give Mark enough time to review.
Yeah, there's not a lot for me to review on this. They're just
Yeah.
Okay, so if I give
responses to
him
the
a week
comments. so
before,
Yeah, I
I'm also
think,
concerned about having
Yeah.
a lot of lead time because I don't have a lot of
Right.
plan work to do.
okay. So a week before then. that you, if there were any submission, that it would be a week before
So
the meeting.
September 10th, reissue
Yeah.
plans?
Yep, if it's needed. So just for the public, so you understand, the public hearing is closed, but you can still submit your comments. We're going to make sure that the plans get onto the website. They were supposed to be there, but because of vacation time, whatever, it didn't get there. Noreen, could you provide, what is your?
planning@monroeny.org.
So it's planning, I don't know if you heard that, at monroeny.org. Or you can stop in at the office, provide your written comments. The plans are available there too during business hours. You can always pop in and take a look at the plans, the hard copy plans if you want to look at them, but we're going to make sure they get posted to the website if you have any additional comments you want to raise. So you have the ability to look at the plan set. All right? And this will be next on the agenda, September 17th. Thank you all. Yes.
When the draft resolution comes out, can we get a copy of it prior to the meeting to at least have a review?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
This one or an updated one? It's the updated.
Let me ask Ashley.
Okay.
Ashley? So, once we've updated the resolution, if we could get a copy to David so he has an opportunity to take a look at it too.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay, yeah,
Either
prior
I can
prior to the
forward it.
meeting, so at least we have some review of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll do, you're getting everything into us the 10th. I mean, I'll try, should be able to get it by the end of that week, by that Friday.
And
That's
can
my
we
goal,
get
at
more
least by Monday.
specifics? Thank you. Can we get more specifics on this fermenting and what they're doing specifically? I think we need still more of a narrative to nail this down. Yeah.
I have a note. I'll talk with the owner tomorrow, or within the next few days, and I'll try to get some kind of step-by-step process.
Okay.
So we have a fuller understanding of those tanks and everything.
Okay.
If you're talking to them anyway, if you had an idea how long they estimate people would stay there and what peak times might be, that would make us feel more comfortable about the parking being adequate.
Sure.
Just
Sure.
another
Thanks.
comment, I don't think I brought it up before, but about the lighting and whether it's fully shielded, so
We
it
have
wasn't
that
clear
note on
from
the-
the detail where the bulb was and where the shield ended, so I just wanted to check
Fine.
that.
Oh, you mean-
Yes.
So, after the period for written comment ends, will those written comments then be provided out to the board to be able to review?
Yes.
At that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. You were talking about the shielding of the light?
Yes, so the code does require lights around signs to be shielded. So, and it wasn't clear from the detail, at least when I looked at it quickly, where the bulb actually was and to make sure that it is shielded.
Yeah, the top canopy provides a shield, and then the light's only coming downward. I think with those type of sconce lights, I'm not gonna be able to provide a shield like you would on a light pole within a parking lot. I'm hoping that this would be, it's only mounted at, 8 feet high? It's not gonna shine out that far.
So the code does require, it's in the sign regulations, that it has to be shielded, so
Okay,
it'll have to be shielded.
We need industrial strength shielded.
we'll put a shield on it. I'll break out the welding machinery and everything.
Okay.
The reality is, after dealing with this on numerous occasions with the code enforcement officer, the note that we are requiring on plans gives him the flexibility that if they purchase a different fixture than the one that they may specify, and it creates a glare problem, the code enforcement officer has the ability to enforce that as part of his site plan, to require them to shield it, remove it, replace it, whatever's needed to eliminate the undesired condition.
Yeah,
So,
we should definitely have a condition actually in our approvals, because one of my big pet peeves is you see, this nice lighting, I'm not, directing this to anybody. You see this great lighting plan, and then after that, they put these wall packs on. And several of especially in the village of Monroe along 17M, they're putting these wall packs that are directed out to
Yes.
traffic, and
you can add it to the resolution, but believe me, after Ben and I went over this, it's a condition on the plan.
Okay,
And there's a note, standard note we require, standard lighting note on the plans
very good.
to avoid problems, because you may approve one thing and they may build it and then a year later change it.
Right.
Then it becomes a site plan violation.
Which is, with our resolution, in this instance, we should specifically, if we haven't, refer to our architectural review authority, because we're, also approving what you have specified. So perhaps in the narrative also, if you could just memorialize what you showed us, because then we can incorporate that as that's what the expectation is.
Yeah, I did have a condition blank leaving for
Great.
the specific materials and colors that were going to be approved as part of your architectural review.
Okay, perfect.
It's in the resolution.
But I don't have the actual names or colors, what you provided, so if you could,
Yeah, she had left it blank so that we could add to it when we're ready to act on the resolution. So if you have a narrative, we can incorporate it in advance.
And it's relevant, I think, that it's 8 feet off the ground and it's decorative.
I mean, it's going to
'cause
change, so I don't, I would hate,
I don't know, it's
sometimes
not
when
very
there's too
high
many
up, and
drafts
if you
flying
look,
around,
this
it
place is
gets
very much downhill
confusing.
from Candle Road. I mean, Candle Road is as steep a road as, well, not as steep as Osseo Terrace, but whatever, it's a fairly steep road.
Right.
And you won't be able to see anything from Candle Road that's
Right.
8 feet off the ground at this restaurant.
Right. That we definitely want to add a condition, if it's not in there, that, again, what's being approved is what's shown on the site plan, and we're not anticipating any outdoor activities. Or if there were events of any nature, they have to come back to the planning board.
That'll be on a resolution.
Great.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right,
All right.
thanks, David.
Anything else, board members? We're good? Professionals, we're good? All right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, David.
Hi, Dave.
Even yours. All right. That was our public hearing for the evening. Our next project up is J6 Construction Lot Line Change. Good evening. And your name is?
Tom DePue, I'm representing J6 Construction.
And if you would, because we have some members of the public here,
Right.
just describe what has transpired and what the proposal is at this point?
Yeah, basically, we had abandoned the 5-lot subdivision, and we were going back to the original 3 lots. What we're proposing is to realign the lots slightly so it makes them of equal size. It also provides a better layout with respect to the house location, driveways, etc.
Okay. So this is our current plan? I may have zoomed in too much.
We'll have 2 lots on Scott and 1 on Hillside.
And at this time, as far as the existing lots, there would be 2 on Scott and 1 on Hillside?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this isn't a public hearing, but I know there are a couple neighbors there. So I just want, again, for you to understand that the 5 lots is going away. There were 3 lots that existed, and there will be now just 3 lots. And the one change they made was to shift a lot line to create more equally spaced properties and properties of equal size. So there will be no improvements to the road. There will be no changes as far as additional paving, et cetera. The neighborhood is essentially going to remain and appear as it has. I think that's correct, right, Mark? For the most part?
One important item to note from the lot line changes proposed, currently lot 4 has some non-conformities. By shifting the lines, you're actually bringing that lot into compliance with the requirements of the zone.
Right. So we're creating complying lots. In general, they're a little larger than even what's in the neighborhood in general, it would appear. And
Just one comment on that, Bonnie.
Sure.
There is the 280A variance that was previously granted, and that applies as well. So all the conditions of that variance would remain in effect as far
Okay.
as, I'm not sure
Because it's on
what
a
it
private road.
requires for the
Private road.
road to
Yeah.
be There
Yeah.
might be some minor road changes there.
Yeah.
So, board members, any comments, questions with regard to the layout? No? Anybody? Mark
No.
and Ashley?
No, I just know we did hear back from the county Department of Planning, and they determined it's a local determination, so we did receive that report.
So at this point, we do have a resolution in front of us. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at it? Yes? So why don't we go through it?
These were Mark's comments too, and I emailed you the, yeah.
Okay.
Nancy, I know has it.
I'm gonna see if I can bring it up for the screen. All right. So we'll just read through it. Actually, resolution of approval, lot line change for J6 Construction and Development Corp. Nature of application, J6 Construction and Development Corp. has applied for approval of an application classified as a lot line change, allowing the relocation of lot lines between 3 existing parcels owned by the applicant. Property affected by this resolution is shown on the tax maps of the town of Monroe as parcels, and then we list them, 1052, 3, and 4. The zoning district, property affected by this resolution is located in the SR 15 zoning district of the town of Monroe. The plans, lot line change and materials considered consist of the following. We note the completed application form and the environmental assessment form, as well as the plans for J6 Construction and Development Corp. That are dated July 24th, 2019. Application was filed with the planning board on or about June 27th. Just want to make a note to myself. Public hearing, there's no requirement that a public hearing be held on a lot line change application. Seeker, this is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which means it's not subject to SECRA. It's exempt from its review. The application was forwarded to the Orange County Planning Department for review and report, and Planning Department has reported that this matter is one for local determination because there's no significant intermunicipal or countywide considerations found to exist. So the findings are, Planning Board has determined that the application proposes a relocation or revision of lot lines intended to correct minor boundary problems and is not intended to create a new lot for development purposes. So again, no new lots than what already exists. Its approval will not result in the creation of any new or additional building lots and instead will result in the land area severed becoming part of an existing adjacent lot or parcel. Approval will not create a parcel at variance with the bulk requirements of the zone in which such parcel is located and will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare, will not be detrimental to the neighborhood or the residents thereof, and will not otherwise be detrimental to the public convenience or welfare, subject to compliance in full with the conditions hereinafter imposed. Do we need to say anything about, right there, about the 280A? Or it's mentioned later, I think.
That's a condition.
Okay. Now therefore, the planning board resolves pursuant to subdivision B of section A65-5, which is a section that addresses lot line changes. As said, depicted on plans, is authorized to sign the plans upon satisfaction of these conditions below noted to be conditions precedent to such signing. And the planning board further resolves to authorize the applicant to record a deed consistent with the plans identified herein without the need of formal subdivision approval upon satisfaction of those conditions below noted to be condition precedent to such recording. Approval is subject to final engineering review of the map. Shall not be signed until receipt of a letter from the planning board engineer certifying that he has found the map submitted for signature to be in proper form. The proposed, proper order, the proposed home location shown on the map are informational only, as this approval is limited to a lot line change, is not approval of a site plan. Prior to the signing of the map, applicant shall remove proposed home locations and shall delete the house relocation and standards notes as such are not applicable to the lot line change. So our house relocation notes are applicable to subdivisions, but in this instance, it's a lot line change.
Exactly, so lot line change is something separate from a subdivision.
Okay, so we'll delete those. There must be a note on the map and a reference in the deeds that the lots are in an archaeologically sensitive area and that when the sites are developed, additional evaluation may be necessary.
And that was based on the advisory comment from the county. I incorporated that as a condition.
I don't know how we practically do this.
You can't do it. And we already proved that it wasn't archaeologically sensitive because we went through that with the DEC when we got the original sewer line extension. So they waived us from any archaeological. Because
Yeah.
it was all disturbed. It was a tennis court and everything else, so we had gone back through that. That was back in 2008 or something like that.
Right. I'm just wondering from a practical perspective if we should waive it. But was it a local determination?
It was a local, it was just an advisory comment, so I'd
Okay.
included that in the event the
We
board
wanted to,
And it
because-
was really just to make the purchaser aware of that. But if
Right.
it has been determined it's not actually in an archaeologically sensitive area, then
Yeah, I think it's minor in nature. There's been disturbances. If this was a new subdivision, we'd actually probably make them go through archaeological evaluation. From my perspective, at this point, you're going to have a lot line change. Individual homeowners will come in, and unless we somehow trigger an archaeological evaluation or require they send it off to DEC, I don't know that it's going to happen. So I think given the nature of the application, the size of the application, my recommendation would be that I don't know that we should have this as a particular condition. I just think it's going to be difficult to enforce, and this isn't a major subdivision. Are there any thoughts on that, or does anyone feel strongly an archaeological evaluation should be done? No.
It was already waived.
Okay. So we'll take out number 3. Prior to the signing of the map, applicant shall modify the note on Lot A stating there are no jurisdictional wetlands within this subdivision to read as follows. There are no jurisdictional wetlands within lots A, B, or C. Prior to the signing of the map, the applicant shall modify Note 8 of the survey and parcel notes to change entire subdivision site to prior subdivision site. Prior to the signing of the map, applicant shall change the drawing title from subdivision plat to lot line change map.
and those 3 were just to
Yeah.
clarify it's not a subdivision, it's a lot line change.
Right. They're cleanup items of what's there. All conditions attached to grant of variance issued by the Town of Monroe ZBA, copy attached here too, are made a part of this approval, and this approval is subject to the same as if those conditions were set forth herein at length. So we can apply the 288 variance to this lot line change?
Yes, it'll be
Okay.
incorporated into.
Okay. Applicant must confirm that there are no buried utilities in the lot area to be transferred that will result in encroachments or violations of regulatory agency requirements. Applicant surveyor should include the following note on the plan: from the best available knowledge, there are no buried utilities within or adjacent to the lot line change that will cause encroachments or create violations of the state sanitary health code. Mark, do you think that's okay, that note, or should
Sounds fine.
Okay.
We are going to have a sewer
Sewer
easement
easement.
proposed, yeah.
Shown on the plans.
Yeah, it's shown on the plans, okay, yeah.
Is it on the plans now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We asked them to add that on at the last revision.
Okay. A map must be filed with Orange County Real Property Tax Service Agency, and no deed may be recorded until such map is filed. Map shall provide accurate dimensional and area data regarding the resulting parcels. Applicant shall copy the planning board on its letter transmitting that map to the Orange County Real Property Tax Service Agency for filing, and shall provide the planning board with any return correspondence reflecting either acceptance or rejection of said map. Applicant shall copy the planning board on its letter transmitting the deeds to the Orange County clerk for recording, and shall provide the planning board with any return correspondence reflecting either acceptance or rejection of said deed. Deeds to be recorded shall restrict use of the parcels consistent with Health Department regulations. And should we say anything about and the Town of Monroe zoning chapter, or that's a given? On number 10.
Yeah, that's the standard language that's been used in prior lot line change. I don't think it's necessary
To discuss the
to
zoning?
add the actual town.
Okay. This approval is conditioned upon the applicant submitting all necessary copies of the plans to be signed, including Mylars when required, to the Town of Monroe Building Department within 60 days of the date of this approval. So there's no planning board signature necessary, or?
Yes, you will need to sign them. So they need to submit them to be signed within 60 days.
Okay. Do we say, I don't know if I read it before, do we say that the map is to be signed by
Yes.
Okay.
It's approving and,
number specific?
so it's right on page 3.
Oh, yeah, on the
right in that
resolution.
first paragraph there.
Okay. Approval is further conditioned upon the applicant delivering prior to, I'm not keeping up here. Applicant delivering prior to signing the map, proof in writing that all fees and expenses, engineering, planning, legal, and otherwise owed to the town for all land use applications in regard to this project or site have been fully paid. Fully completed entity disclosure statement signed and either sworn to or affirmed by the applicant referenced above is on file with this board. In the event that the right to develop this project is sold, assigned, or otherwise transferred, whether by transfer of the property or transfer of the management or operation or both of the entity owning the right to develop to another entity, transferring entity shall notify the town in writing, and any such succeeding entity must fully comply with this notification requirement before any work or other activity on the project shall be permitted to proceed, continue, or be completed. Failure to comply with any such condition in a timely manner shall result without further action in the lapsing of this approval. Failure to comply with any such condition in a timely manner shall result without further action in a lapsing of this approval. I think we have to strike one of the,
Oh,
there were 2 failures.
Note number 9.
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't that be filed with the Orange County Clerk's Office, not real property tax?
I don't know, because this is a lot line change. Is a lot line change from the county's perspective still a subdivision?
Yes, it is. So, but I think this should be reading that it's to be filed at the Orange County Clerk's Office, not Orange County Real Property
yeah, I believe,
Tax.
because this was the standard condition that's been in the ones that were previously used, and I believe it is with the, let me just check really quickly if I could
Okay.
verify
I mean,
that.
we always take it to tax map, but the actual record filing is at the clerk's
With the county
office.
clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deeds go to the county clerk, but the actual map,
Now, the actual map gets filed at the county clerk's office, does not get filed with tax map. Tax map will do a review and make sure that the adjoining owners and everything involved is right. And then they sign off. You have to have that sign off before you can file at the county clerk's office.
yeah, I believe it is both, and we could just add in there with the Orange County Real Property Tax Service Agency and/or Orange County Clerk.
Okay, just, yeah.
Everybody understand that change?
Because I do believe it is with the tax, so if you send it to both, and then if one of them doesn't want it, they could tell you that.
Well, basically, you go to tax map, they review the map, and they give you an okay from there, and you have to have that in order to go file it at the county
Yeah, and that's what
clerk's.
that's looking for, to
Okay,
submit it,
all right,
yeah,
all
first
right.
to,
Okay.
Any suggested revisions? Any changes, other than the one that Ashley commented on?
so that one will change number 9 to say.
Yes. Map must be filed with the Orange County Real Property Tax
And-
Service Agency
and-
and/or Orange County Clerk's Office.
Yes.
Something to that effect. We'll give you liberty to
Yes, I
change it
will
appropriately.
Modify that, and I'll also take out number 3 on the version that you'd be signing, the specific condition number 3.
Number 3, right about the archaeology. So archaeology will be removed.
And the double, yes.
And the double final.
If I remember this one right, I think this is with Mike Donnelly, so this, I hate to put you on the spot with a question if I haven't talked with you about it before, but Scott Street and Hillside Avenue are private roads, and I know there was concern about their condition and maintenance and improvement, but if there's going to be any agreement between the residents to improve those private roads, that would be a private agreement for private work done outside of the purview of this planning board, right?
Yes, and what this resolution does, it conditions this approval on the prior 280A variant, and I believe that spoke to some requirements as far as
Right. As
maintenance,
far as,
so
there
they're
was
going
some
to have to
minor
still comply.
road work that was part of the variance that we will have to comply with.
What was that?
They wanted the same thing. They wanted the edge of the roads fixed and widened a little bit and something like that.
But in front of your parcels
Uh,
immediately, or
it covered from our parcels down. It covered everything in Monroe is what it did. It didn't go out into the Chester area when we discussed
So
it.
everything in Monroe between, on your parcels on Scott and Hillside down to Cooper?
Yeah.
you're
They
saying?
talked about doing, minor improvements all through those two areas.
But
Just
not-
not in front of our lots. It was
But beyond your lots
yeah,
then?
beyond our lots, yeah.
But when you say minor, is it, you're not paving the entire road anymore?
No, it was widening, it was working around the hedges and everything like was discussed previously, and just widening and fixing the edges of the road and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's more a maintenance?
Maintenance thing than a whole big repave job. It wasn't that wasn't the intent of the variance at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know because, the homeowners were concerned about,
Right.
their front yards or their,
Right. Yeah, we
grassed
weren't-
areas
we
being.
We didn't call the widening thing out to 26 feet or anything like that. It was just fixing the edges and stuff.
Okay, okay.
And that variance does also require a maintenance agreement as well, a road maintenance agreement between these lots, and then it also, if the neighbors are willing to enter one as well.
Right,
speaks to
so,
that.
but that's kind of been a moot point here. We'll probably have one for the 3 lots that we created, and that'll be it.
Okay.
I mean, we'll try again,
Can we
but
hear a comment from the crowd?
Yeah, just since we have someone here. Quick comment, yes?
Yeah, Sally has actually proposed an agreement.
5 of the 6 residents have approved.
Can't hear any of this.
She's, we could repeat it maybe. I hate to make her walk up here with the, or unless you.
Do we have a
Would pushing
handheld?
the chair up be terrible or a burden or? Okay, we'll wait.
Yes.
So- Okay, thanks, Jason.
At the May meeting.
If you could just, your name again for the record?
Sally Adams, 7 Hillside Avenue.
Thank you.
At the May meeting, Mr. Sorrentino was directed to work again on a road maintenance agreement, and he agreed he would come around and go to all homeowners. He didn't. So we have come up with our own version of a road maintenance agreement, which I understand will not meet the format requirements. I mean, there's no pursuant tos and therefores and whereases in it. It's a very simplified one, but it's something that 5 of the 6 current residents have indicated they would agree to. I just didn't get a response from the 6th one. So I would like to, I don't know, do I have to file something with the town, with the planning board, or?
So for purposes of this board's approval, the applicant is required to prepare a maintenance agreement and speak to the neighbors if they're willing to enter one as well. So if you speak with the applicant and give him a copy of that, if they're willing, if you're all willing to agree, then that's great. I believe the final review is actually based on the ZBA variance. It goes to the town attorney as far as form. But if you're able to agree, then that's always great, and you can
Well,
submit
we're
that
in
and try to work
agreement,
that
but
out.
we, like I said, we were expecting to have Mr. Sorrentino come around, and he didn't. So we didn't get
I
an
think
agreement
because
from that
the-
side.
The scope, the application changed, and that was back when there was still going to be the subdivision proposed,
Well, this-
where that
this,
agreement was contemplated, so.
They may have forgotten that they had this condition within the 280A variance application, but I think
It's been
I think
ongoing for 15 years. I don't think they forgot that we need a road maintenance agreement.
I think that it's beneficial that you put something together, because it probably speaks to the spirit of what you're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish.
It speaks to our concerns and what we feel we need to be protected from each other, from anybody else.
Did
because
you
it's up
bring
to us.
Did you bring multiple copies?
Yes, I did.
So perhaps you could leave one with the
Yes, I
applicant's
will.
representative, and then, Ashley, you could take a look at it and then, forward it on to Brian, who ultimately, I guess, someone has to come up with a road maintenance agreement.
So it's really the applicants to prepare it, so I
Right.
would say
We'll get
for
the
the
applicant to
applicant,
prepare
it
Yeah.
needs to then ultimately be approved by the town attorney, but in the first instance, it's the applicant, and if the neighbors are willing, to work with that as well.
And those are copies for the board?
Well, it's good we have a copy, just that we can see there's
Yeah,
some good
for
faith attempt
information.
to make an agreement, and I don't think
Essentially,
Mr.
it's what we've
Sorrentino
been
should
doing
forget again.
anyway.
What's
It's just that it's in writing now, and, I mean, there are only 6 of us, so it was always, phone call here, hey neighbor, we're gonna do this, can you chip in, kind of thing. This just kind of clears it up, and then, we did specify that if there's damage resulting from one party's actions that affects other parties on the road, that the person affecting the detrimental actions will be the one that should be solely responsible for fixing that. We don't feel it's logical to divide it by 6 or 7 if it's somebody's equipment when they're putting in a pool that damages the rest of the road. Were there enough copies to go around?
There are,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So we will, again, most importantly, the applicant's representative has it, and they'll take it in consideration. They have to come up with something that's to the satisfaction of the town attorney, and we will just provide this for informational purposes to
Right.
him as he reviews whatever roadway maintenance agreement that's developed and submitted by the applicant.
Okay,
All right?
yep.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
And,
letting me
who are the
present
5
it.
neighbors?
Excuse me?
The 5 neighbors?
I can write them down for you.
Okay, I just, that's fine. And if you
Yeah.
get the 6th one, let us know.
How about I do this back at the table and
Oh,
I'll give
okay,
it to you?
all right,
okay?
I'll pick it up, yeah.
Well, isn't the plan, I guess, for the owner to send the 6 copies to the 6 residents to
What?
I'm
come
sorry,
up with?
what?
Aren't you going to come up with an agreement to send to all the residents? Is that the
Yeah,
next
well,
step?
we want to know the 5 that agreed to it, so we can name them in it, that's all.
Oh, well, I
Plus
would
you have-
name the 6th one in it too and send him a copy. They said the 6th one never responded, right? He didn't say no.
Okay, all
So,
right,
yeah.
It's not that they refused, they just didn't get back to me in time.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
So with that, everybody, we're ready to take action here. So I'd like someone to make a motion to approve the lot line change for J6 Construction and Development Corp., subject to the revisions that were noted, including elimination of condition 3, adding reference to the Orange County Clerk's Office to condition 9, and eliminating the second sentence that starts a failure on page 6. So would someone make that motion?
I will make that motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
And Noreen, would you?
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jason Srensky,
Aye.
Anthony Vaccaro,
Aye.
James McKnight,
Aye.
Donald Legler was absent, Lisa McQuaid,
Aye.
Jeff Manson.
Aye.
With that, your lot line change is approved, subject to the conditions.
Which, is it going back, the road maintenance green going to the town board attorney or the planning board attorney or how?
So the 288 variance says town attorney,
Okay, which is,
Brian Nugent.
okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And Ashley, thank you for your first excellent resolution.
You're welcome. And I'll make those changes and then send Noreen a final copy for your signature.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda was to be DG Management, but that has been canceled. They requested to be off the agenda for this evening. Then the next item on the agenda, we received a series of requests. I guess they were lead agency requests for various projects that are occurring in and around the town, but within the Village of Curious Joel.
Joel is here if you, to answer any questions you might have on that.
Yeah, Joel, do you want to come on up to let us know what's the status of this and what's transpiring?
So
My name is Joel Mann. I'm actually the project planner and coordinator. So basically we have these 3 projects before the Village of Kitty Joel Planning Board. It's within close proximity, basically in the close to the town of Monroe boundary lines. So the village started to the notice of interest the notice to be the lead agency, and it was distributed to all involved agencies. And that's basically the 3 packages, 3 projects what you have on your table now. So if there's any questions specific to any project, I'm willing to answer any questions and concerns.
Just 1 minute. Are you guys okay with the door?
That would be good.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
I'm just popping them all up right now. Now you have to sign this form, right? I've never had this come in before. Yeah. So, in essence, there are projects proposed within the Village of Kiryas Joel.
Correct.
I guess my first question is, so they're being circulated to us, are they being circulated to us as interested agencies or as involved agencies?
As interested agencies, probably.
Okay, because,
Yeah, you would be an involved agency if the town planning board had any approval authority. I'm not aware of any. Are there any aspects that need approval?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't see any noted on the EAF, but
so we don't have the opportunity to be an involved agency. We can only
Exactly.
express an opinion, I guess.
if you wish to be an interested agency and it seems maybe
And
they
receive
had classified you
any
as that,
Right.
then you would continue to
Correct.
receive.
Notifications and
Exactly.
documentation. Yes, Mark?
Just a quick clarification, possibly we could get from Joel.
Yeah.
The 3 application plans, one says that the property's in the Village of KJ.
Yeah.
One says it's in another one, separate plan says Town of Monroe. And the third one says Town of Palm Tree, but all lead agency letters are coming from the village. So are the plans in error?
Okay, it's basically like this. Let's go plan by plan.
Yeah, so right now I have open, and let me just rotate this.
Do you
This,
represent the applicant or the village?
I'm representing the applicants.
so if we look at 85 Raywood Drive,
Yes,
just so you know.
That's just an error.
Okay, so the SBL.
Okay, the format, okay, we'll explain you what's going on here. Since the town of Palm Tree was formed, the only change in the tax map was that they changed, like, they have a new map showing the town of Palm Tree, but they didn't change any of the tax map numbers. It was staying the same numbers, the same as it was in under the town of Monroe. So currently, the tax map is only showing the tax on the map, the town of Monroe. That's a mistake. That's supposed to be town of Palm Tree.
Okay.
That's still a town of Palm Tree, and it's in the process of being annexed to the village. I believe that it was already annexed to the village. I don't know if it's filed, but it was adopted. The additional 56 acres, what was out of the previous annexation, it was incorporated into the town of Palm Tree. Was I think it was like in the last couple weeks, it was annexed to the village, but there is no updated SBL currently. So I used the previous SBL for the informational purposes, but the village will not take any action until this is the annexation will be filed and all the new SBL numbers will be updated.
So there was the 164 acres, and then there was some additional land.
56 acres.
So this is part of that 56?
Correct. Yeah.
And we're on Raywood Drive?
We were Raywood Drive.
Where
It's
am
actually
I?
just next to another project you have on the planning board.
Right, that you brought in previously, correct?
So Joel, when we were talking about that project, you were talking about a proposal on the project, on the property next door. This is that property that you were getting at and you were describing for us.
Exactly.
That we
Now
got-
you have the plan so you can see everything.
Yeah.
Right. And going to the next project, where is the Highview Estates, that's actually in the village of Kiryas Joel. It was part of the 156 acres, and this is actually currently updated. And the same thing, the Hyanton Forest is basically the same situation. It's as the first project on Raywood. It's still, the tax map is still town of Palm Tree, but there is no but it's already in the village, but there's just no new SBL number now.
So that's the high end.
The high end of Forest.
Okay.
Thanks for the clarification, because I got
Yeah.
very confused
No, I'm
when I saw all
sorry.
the names.
Yeah.
Right.
So the
And-
first map's supposed to be Town of Palm Tree for now, so
Okay.
that's just.
So the one was in error?
Yeah.
The first one, okay.
Correct.
So, in essence, we're interested agencies, unless we wanted to, pass a resolution indicating that we have a preference for an involved agency. Other than that, we really don't have,
Yeah, there's no need for you to consent
Take
to the lead
action or to
agency
consent or to do
request.
anything,
The only
okay.
thing would be if you want to remain a interested agency, you could advise them and
Yeah.
they'll continue to receive notices.
I think given that it's, adjacent to and proximate to the town, my recommendation would be that we recommend that we want to be an interested agency and we'd like to get all notifications and reports or links to reports so that we're aware of what's happening.
What's the difference between being an interested agency and an involved agency?
So if you're an involved agency, then you have some approval power over some aspect of the project. So sometimes a project will need approval from the planning board and the ZBA, for instance, then they would both be involved agencies. So as far as you're an interested agency, you just are someone that wants to be kept informed on the project so that you could comment.
We don't have any discretionary approval over the action. Like,
So we wouldn't have any wherewithal to say, you're putting more traffic than our roads can handle.
we have
You
the.
could comment as an interested agency on environmental impacts as the process goes through environmental review. You just don't have any discretionary approval authority. So you're just asking for your comments to be heard. You don't have any jurisdiction over the actual project.
All right.
Joel, are they doing traffic studies? Are you doing an environmental impact statement?
We're doing traffic studies, archaeological report, endangered species, and whatever as well. We're drainage, sewer, water, everything is being studied.
Is it going to be then in the form of an EIS, or is it just individual studies?
It's individual studies. And
So-
it will be part of extended long EAF,
Okay.
and that's it.
Can you send those to us as they're made available, as an interested agency?
Sure.
Okay.
Will your traffic studies include pedestrian traffic as well?
Pedestrian traffic and all the recommendations, and it's being very carefully considered. Actually, in fact, the village separately recently hired a traffic consultant to do a full village-wide traffic study, and they're actually reviewing all the. So even I have my own traffic consultant. They have their traffic consultant reviewing all the projects
Who are-
specifically.
Who are you using and who are they using?
I'm using Mazer, and the village is using Creighton Manning.
Okay. Both known,
Yeah, for their
Neff
wide
Mazers, Phil
experience.
Greeley, and,
Right,
I know
Phil
Creighton
Greeley.
Manning. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody, any comments? Anything else we want to add? So I would just ask that, in the interest of transparency and cooperation, especially the traffic, which is the obvious
Traffic and sewer.
impact. But
No problem.
anything,
Water.
utilities
Those are the
and.
three I'm looking at.
The what?
Those are the three I will be reading.
Which
every-
three?
Traffic, sewer, and
And
water.
water.
I will be looking at endangered species and archaeology.
I know.
And anybody else can pick up any of the other studies that are done. You can take stormwater runoff, maybe noise, air quality.
Right.
So, thank you for attending, and thank you for sending the documents to us. We
Okay.
appreciate it.
Going forward, if you have any questions, you can. I will certainly be here to answer you.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that gets us through item 4, minutes.
Do you have to sign these? I don't know, I've never had these come in before.
I don't think we have to.
Those are if you are an involved agency, so you have nothing to consent to. So.
Yeah, I'll take a look at them,
Okay,
just
'cause I was
to
like,
see if it
I've
says
never gotten
anything,
these
but
back.
I don't think we have to.
The other map you follow on.
So,
No, we have
the
two.
first item, minutes, is November 13th.
It's been hanging for,
And I don't know, and again, Ashley, you'll have to inform us. And there's no requirement that we approve them, ultimately.
No,
yeah.
exactly.
Because these are the minutes where the members present were Anthony, Jason, and Jeff. One of the people are no longer on the board. So those that were present, there are only 3 of them. You know, so I don't know if we should just pass on these minutes because we don't have a quorum, and I don't know that anybody else wants to be involved in their
Yeah,
approval.
there's no requirement to approve them, so it could just be, these are the minutes.
Okay.
I think the draft might have even been posted since it's been done, so the approval just,
Can I just take a minute to see what projects were on there?
Yep. They were Scunnamunk subdivision, Meadow Hill, Scunnamunk and Meadow Hill. May 9th.
I'm good to let them stand. I'm okay to let it stand as is without approval.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, so November 13th is done. May 9th, we have Anthony, Lisa, Jason, Jim, and Jeff. I was not present. So we have enough people to vote on this. Do you guys have any revisions?
I'm sorry, which
May
minutes?
May 9th.
Sorry.
I peeked on for a second.
You
I looked
sure
at it
can.
already, but
Yeah. There you go. Anybody else need May 9th? Have an extra May 9th? All right, so whenever you guys are ready, I'm going to abstain because I was not present. I don't have the May 21st minutes.
You're not gonna have them. That's the one I was having a problem with.
Okay.
On my end.
All right, and we won't be doing May 21st, so we just have to get through May 9th. So whenever anybody wants to make a motion after you've read.
I was learning how to attach the documents. And I deleted instead of attached.
I'm okay with it. I didn't look it over for typos of every word, just sometimes stuff. Anthony gets credit for the short bulb cul-de-sac objections. Oh boy, he gets all the good ideas. It's hard, because something like this, we talked about at numerous meetings. So
Right.
Anthony objected to it there before it was cool. So we all objected to it weeks later. So,
Not even paying attention.
nobody cares. That's okay.
Zapping me?
These are fantastic, Noreen.
I'm okay.
You good? Okay.
Noreen, one thing at the top of second page, 5th line.
Oreca Terrace?
Yeah,
Feminine
Lot
version?
10, Oreca Terrace entrance. It's Areco, O-R-E-C-O, 1 R and an O at the end.
O-R-E-C-O.
O-R-E-C-O. It's an acronym, Orange and Rockland Electric Company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Interesting.
You should have seen me trying to spell this and the computer didn't know how to do it either.
Yeah, the original homes there were all bungalow housing for the executives of O&R because of the facility across the highway.
Oh. Wow, it's historic.
We learn something here every month.
So
We're
cool.
proving stuff, we're learning stuff, it's great.
That's awesome.
I will fix that.
I love that.
in the morning.
I'm gonna
Thank you, the residents are
bore
sensitive.
my kids with that every time we drive by.
Could you? I do.
Oh, hey kids, there it is.
Big
Pretty
bang.
good terrace.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Well, I had, on the first page under 3 returning projects.
Can you talk into the
Sorry.
microphone?
The first page, number 3 returning projects, it's about the 10th line down. Question regarding the 150 buffer, so maybe we should put what, it's 150 feet, or what that is.
Yeah.
And then, maybe another 10 lines down, it says exact location of property along Lakes Road, just past Camp Monroe Avenue. And I think that's Camp Monroe Road. I'm not sure if it's Avenue or Road.
Oh, okay, I think it is road, sorry.
Thank you.
Very good. That it? Lisa, you still going through it?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Thank you.
All right, so I think Anthony made a motion.
I'll second.
With those amendments, anybody? Go ahead, all in favor?
Of approving minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any disapprovals? And I abstain. All right, so with that, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
Second? Or Jason had it, I think.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any disapprove? Any abstain? All right, we adjourn our meeting, but I'd like you guys to